In this video, how a U.S. military pension can serve as passive income for Rentista and Pensionado visas in Latin America. Basically, passive income and retiree visas, opening the door to residency in countries like Costa Rica, Panama, and Mexico. U.S. military pensions provided through the Department of Defense or VA, Veterans Affairs, offer guaranteed monthly payments, perfect for meeting the income requirements of these visa programs. In 2025, with over 2 million U.S. veterans receiving pensions, and you have Latin America's low tax, low cost of living, these visas are a growing choice for retirees and expats. This video will break down what military pensions and these visas are, how it works together, the benefits, who qualifies, and essentially how to use a pension for visa applications step by step. All info is updated for 2025 based on official sources and insider information from MyLatinLife. We're a full-scale immigration consultancy. We work with every country in Latin America, and we help U.S. veterans get residency and relocate to Latin America where they can live like kings on their pension income. So let's get started here. A U.S. military pension is a monthly payment for veterans who served X number of years, active duty or reserves in the system, or for those with VA pensions, service-connected disabilities. There's lots of different paths to a military pension, and this will average $1,000 to $3,000 a month or more. I've seen people with combined pensions from a couple different sources well over $5,000 a month. And then when you look at the Pensionado visas and the Rentista visas in Latin America, the residency programs, they're granting you temporary or permanent status to people that have passive income ranging from $1,000 to $2,000 a month, depending on the country. Some countries have lower income thresholds than others, but if you have even $1,000 in passive income, you have a lot of options. In 2025, over 200,000 U.S. expats live in Latin America. I think the number is actually 10x that. And 70% of them are using visas like this. They're drawn by the climate. They're drawn by the cost of living that's 30 to 50 or 80% lower than the US, and territorial tax systems that only tax local income, where you could potentially combine this with the foreign earned income exclusion and lower your taxes further. Military pensions qualify as passive income. It's guaranteed, lifelong, and verifiable, making this type of income ideal for these passive income programs. And then on the back end, you're supported by U.S. tax treaties to avoid double taxations. A lot of these countries have treaties so that they don't tax a U.S. pension. The benefits of using a military pension for passive income visas in Latin America is substantial. Residency also gives you access to public health care in the country. Now, a lot of people use private health care in Latin America, of course, but the fact that just being a resident, you get free public health care is pretty interesting, especially for Americans where the cost of health care is insane and a lot of people are getting left behind. But if you get residency in Mexico or Panama or any of these countries, typically you get free public health care while being a resident. Costa Rica is another example as well that has a pretty decent public health care system. You'll also be potentially working towards citizenship so that you can get a second citizenship in a country like Panama or Mexico that has a strong passport, and it's a great plan B. At a bare minimum, you're going to get temporary or permanent residency to start, and you will get a full residency card that you can carry around. You can also get a driver's license in these countries. Once you're a resident, you can open bank accounts in these countries, start businesses. It's somewhere that you can legally live outside the United States. A lot of people, either they're not happy with the direction the US is going, or they haven't saved enough for retirement, or they're just looking for a new adventure or looking to escape winter. A lot of people just want to be snowbirds and do 6 months a year in Latin America when the weather is not so great in New England or New York or Chicago, any place with snow. If you're not a skier, why not spend the winters in Latin America? Why not, instead of going to Florida, go a little bit further to Latin America where you're working towards a second passport, you're getting legal residency and a plan B for your entire family, right? So how does it work exactly? Again, every country is a little bit different in terms of what they want to see in terms of passive income. Most countries are $1,000 or $1,500 or occasionally $2,000 a month in passive income. Mexico is probably the highest, where Mexico wants to see around $4,000 in income. Mexico's a little bit of an outlier, actually, in terms of passive income visas. Every other country works quite similarly, where they have what's called the Rentista visa. Mexico's a little bit different. We have a million videos on our channel about Mexico if you're curious about the visa requirements for Mexico. But then every country in Central America works quite similarly, whether it's Panama, Costa Rica, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras. They're all just looking for $1,000 to $1,500 to $2,500 a month in passive income. And of course, that number goes up a little bit if you're bringing family. So depending on the number of dependents that you have, spouses and children under 25, they're going to qualify on that same pension, but the number that you need to qualify is a little bit higher. So it might be 30% higher with a spouse. It might be double the minimum as a family of 4. So it depends what you're working with. There's always ways around it, though, as well. If you, let's just say you don't have enough pension income for the requirements for a family of 4, you can always just apply as a couple first, a husband and wife, or as a single adult, and then add the family later via family reunification. So if there's a will, there's a way. Again, some countries have lower thresholds than others. Nicaragua is probably the lowest, where it's only $600 or $750 a month in passive income that they want to see. So now let's walk through exactly how to use a military pension for these visas step by step in 2025. This process varies by country, but there's a lot of commonalities. So step 1 is verify your pension. Obtain a pension award letter from the Department of Defense or the VA showing the monthly payments and lifetime guarantee. You'll want to get this document apostilled as well via the U.S. State Department. Step 2, choose a country in a visa. Research your options. Is it Costa Rica, Panama, Mexico, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Argentina? Check the requirements and decide which country you want to make your new home as a plan A or a plan B. And by the way, MyLatinLife can help with this. We can help you weigh the pros and cons of different countries. There's a link in the description where you can book a call with us. You can get on our calendar, be speaking with us as early as this week, and we can help set you up for success with all things Latin America. We can execute on the visa services. We can help you build a plan. Anything that you need, link in the description to book a call with us. Step 3 in the process, gather your documents. You'll need your passport, your apostilled criminal record, your background check. You'll need your birth certificate, most likely marriage certificates for dependents. Don't worry about translations. We'll take care of that as part of the residency process. Now, there are some things to be aware of. There are processing delays in some of these countries. It changes over time. So don't think that this is a 1-month process or a 1-week process. Typically, getting residency is anywhere from a 2 to 6 month process, depending on the country. Some are faster than others. Mexico can be relatively fast. Some of these countries can be fast in terms of applying, but then you also have to wait for approval in order to get an ID number and start really integrating into the country. So this is a relatively long-term process, and at least at MyLatinLife, we find that we're working with our clients for up to 6 months and more. There's no hard limit, but there's a lot of back and forth involved in the process. There's a lot of bureaucracy, which is something else that you need to be aware of. And there's a lot of nuances depending on so many different factors. In Latin America, sometimes what's written online and how things work in practice are a little bit different. So here are some practical tips for using a military pension for Latin American visas. First, verify your pension eligibility. Typically, you want to already be receiving that pension so that the country can already see that passive income coming in. They can already see on your bank statements some money flowing in on that pension. If your pension is set to take place in the future, well, there's a little bit of a strategy in terms of how you structure that, how you receive that pension, when you start receiving that pension. And again, that's something we can help with if you book a call with us. But verify your pension eligibility. Are you already receiving it? Are you getting it in the future? Second tip here, apostille your documents early. Apostilling takes time. This is basically a legalization of your U.S. documents for use abroad, and you're going to want to get on that as early as possible. And there's a link in the description to a service we recommend, Apostille USA. It's a separate company from ours, but we send a lot of clients their way in terms of apostilling your documents. Third tip here is hire a lawyer. You're really going to want to use a lawyer in Latin America who can be constantly on top of your case. They can move things forward quickly. They can check up on things. They can be your POA, your power of attorney, so that they can get stuff done for you on your behalf in this Latin American country. It's really not that expensive to hire a lawyer. Depending on the country, you're looking at $1,000 to $3,000 or $4,000. So it's not that much money, and it's going to save you so much time and headache. So for whatever country in Latin America that you're doing, highly recommend using a local lawyer, a local fixer, someone that does this day in, day out. It's well worth it. And of course, MyLatinLife can help. That's what we do. We do visas in Latin America, but if not us, if you use someone else, that's fine with us too. But use somebody for your Latin America visas, especially for countries because the last thing you want to do is fly down to a country and have incomplete documents, and then you got to go home and you can't even apply for residency, and there's just so many common pitfalls to avoid. Fourth tip here, maintain good records. Keep pension and residency documents organized. And fifth tip here is plan for renewals. Start 3 months before expiry. Sometimes when you're renewing that residency, you need another police check. You need different documents. So think about how long of an initial visa am I going to get? Am I getting 1 year, 2 years, or more initially? And then what does that renewal process look like? And then how many years do I get on my renewal? Because, for example, in Mexico, a lot of the time you get 1 year to start, and then when you renew for 3 more years. Every country is a little bit different, so it's something to be aware of. Using a U.S. military pension for Rentista and Pensionado visas unlocks Latin America's residency benefits, from low taxes to a Plan B, a low cost of living, in many ways better health care and a more free society. This veteran's path to residency in Latin America can be your path to freedom and living like a king. That is the full guide to using a military pension for Latin American visas. If you're applying or have tips, share them in the comments below. We'd love to hear your stories, your anecdotes, and give the video a thumbs up if it helped. subscribe to the channel, and check our other videos on global residencies. Remember to book a call if you want to speak to us directly. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.